Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and I specifically want to talk about the inverted soul coin and what it is used for in IRL. Okay, so let's get all the way there. All right, so let's talk about Avernus. Okay, so the realms of Dungeons and Dragons, you know what they are, okay? The material plane, you know what that is, okay? On the material plane, the 9 circles of hell. You know them, right? Avernus. It is the first circle of hell. It was created by Asmodeus. Okay, he's on the cover of the Dungeons and Dragons 4th Era Monster Manual. Okay, it came out in 2008. Beautiful piece of art. Check it out. So Asmodeus creates Avernus. Avernus is a hellscape. Okay, and on that hellscape, demons and devils war eternally in the blood wars. And in those blood wars, they use infernal war machines. The demons and the devils use these super dope, very cool, hellscape forged motorcycles. They use these, very powerful, unique, hellfire forged vehicles. Okay? And they could be small, medium, large, huge, gargantuan, right? And these infernal war machines are fueled by the soul coin. The soul coin is incredibly unique. And I just told you all that, right? People are constantly saying this. Like, Scott, why do you talk about Dungeons and Dragons like religion? It's so much like religion. It's astonishing, right? I just walked you through through the path to get to the soul coin, right? The soul coin is Dungeons and Dragons lore. It's powerful. It's incredibly powerful, right? And in order to get there, I used freighted words. So every Sunday I listen to a sermon, right? And the pastor uses freighted words. He says baptism, right? And everybody in the room knows, could talk for 2 hours about baptism and not get to the end of their knowledge. Freighted words, right? Material plane, right? Freighted. Avernus, freighted. Asmodeus, freighted. Archdevil, freighted. Infernal war machine, freighted, right? Every single word we use to get here is freighted. You could unpack them into a book each. It's astounding, right? And this is my point. Dungeons and Dragons is truly unique. It is incredibly special. It is a selector for the most intelligent, confident, charismatic people on the planet. The value of that is immense. And Dungeons and Dragons is the most undervalued secular force in the world. It makes billions now, but it takes like a decade to make a billion, right? To make a few billion, right? But it's massively undervalued. It's exactly like Marvel in the 1980s, right? And then think of Marvel from 2010 to 2020 when they were just $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion movie, billions, right? And this is Dungeons and Dragons. So we reach the soul coin. So what is a soul coin? So it's forged on Avernus, okay? And basically you take a living being and you rip their soul out and you put it in the coin, right? Then once that soul and the coin is made of 1 pound, right, of infernal iron, right, and it contains a soul coin, and every soul coin is unique because it has a unique soul trapped inside of it, right? A person, right, their intellect, their emotion, their spirit are trapped in the coin. Right? It's powerful. It's of incredible value, right? It cannot be bought with gold pieces, but it can be bought with 300 talons, right? Which are a special currency only found on Avernus, right? Which are dedicated to the worship of Tiamat, right? And each of those talons can only be bought with 10 gold, right? You cannot buy a soul coin with gold. Right? It's too special. Right? So we get there, right? We now understand the soul coin in Dungeons and Dragons. But just like Gary Gygax, he wrote it. Listen now. He's screaming from his grave. He's trying to get wisdom to you. He wrote on the cover of every Dragon magazine, Mastering the Dungeon and Beyond. Dungeons and Dragons is simply an allegory for real world wisdom, right? To learn, to grow, to improve, right? Right. Transform, learn, grow, improve, transform. To Elgit, right? To Elgit, to learn, to grow, to improve, to transform, right? Yes. So, we now understand the soul coin. But the soul coin is really pointing to a real world object which you and I possess. We have the inverted soul coin, okay? Now, actually, what are soul coins used for? They power the infernal war machines. So you put one of these soul coins into an infernal war machine, and then the engine literally screams with the pain of that soul, right? And you could power a gargantuan infernal war machine across the hellscape of Avernus for 3 days with a single coin, right? It's powerful, very powerful, right? And so, but how do we have inverted soul coins in IRL? Well, Dragon Masters, every Dragon Master has soul coins. What has inverted soul coins, right? So what are inverted soul coins? So basically, in the real world, we have done the same, right? We have trapped souls in a single coin, which is extremely valuable, extremely portable, and can fuel engines, right? So let's talk about it. What is the inverted soul coin? The inverted soul coin in our world, in the IRL, that every Dragon Master holds, right, is their character sheet. A character sheet is a soul coin, right? You have built this new identity. It exists on one single piece of paper, right? That piece of paper is your inverted soul coin. First of all, what does it first do? What is the power of an inverted soul coin? The first thing it does is render you manifold sentient. You are no longer a regular muggle human. Can you imagine the people who go through this world trapped in one identity? They see the sunrise on a single world. They see the sunrise on a single world. How many worlds have you watched the sunrise on? How many have you seen the sunrise on? For me, probably 30. I've watched the sunrise on 30 worlds. It has changed me forever. I have learned, I have grown, I have improved, and I have been transformed. Are you there yet? Did you do any of that with Dungeons & Dragons? Have you learned with it? Have you grown with it? Have you improved with it? Have you been transformed? Are you an Elgit? Good question, right? Valid question, right? I believe they're coming. I think we're going to have thousands of Elgits soon, right? So basically, the first thing it does is it gives manifold sentience. And that doesn't even require an engine. And just like if you go read the Soul Coin, right, in Dungeons & Dragons canon hardbacks, if you read what it does things without an engine, right? But it can also do things for engines, right? Now, what are the engines that are powered by inverted soul coins, right? By these coins that are carried by these Dragon Masters, right? That have already given them manifold sentience. So what it does, so the first is full experiencing, right? So the first engine is the full experience engine. What is a full experience engine? Well, there's a bunch of schmucks who play Dungeons & Dragons and intellectually process it. They're like, oh, hey, everybody, here's my ranger. It's going to be a good build. There's going to be a lot of dungeons. There's going to be a lot of damage that comes out of it. High DPS. Here's my tank. He's a fighter. Well, you know, that's intellectual processing of Dungeons & Dragons. We've done it for 50 years. Right? But full experiencing of Dungeons & Dragons, I've started to talk about it right here. What is the full experience of Dungeons & Dragons? The full experience of Dungeons & Dragons is intellectual processing, emotional processing, and spiritual processing of everything that happens in the D&D narrative. Everything that's happening at the table, right? You listening to the red dragon master, the white dragon master, the blue dragon master, the green dragon master, and the black dragon master. You listening to the dungeon master and looking for ways, looking for the building compounds provided by the D&D narrative to learn, to grow, to improve, and to transform. Interesting. Very interesting, right? So once we learn to fully process in Dungeons and Dragons, we then know that we can fully process in real life. That when somebody's in front of us, we need to be listening to them with our intellect, listening to them with our emotions, listening to them with our spirit, and engaging on all three. And this is transformative humanity. And it's not available to anyone who doesn't play Dungeons and Dragons, because they don't know what full experiencing is. They never transformed, they never progressed from intellectual processing to intellectual and emotional processing, from intellectual and emotional processing to intellectual, emotional, and spiritual processing. People don't do that. They do not do that in this world, right? And even Christians, I think, in many ways, they do they're learning to deal with each other spiritually, right? But I can tell you right now, intellect is being fast forgotten by evangelical Christians. They don't process things intellectually. The number one thing of every evangelical Christian couple today, right? You know what they want to talk about? Oh my gosh, I hope my kid doesn't go to an Ivy. Oh my gosh, I'm making to make sure that my kid doesn't go into college debt, right? They're running from intellectual processing. Every evangelical Christian couple now, I hope my kid's a welder. Or, oh my gosh, I hope my kid's a carpenter. They are rejecting intellectualism massively, right? They are very much they are very much dealing with the people in front of them emotionally and spiritually, but they're rejecting intellectualism. Massively rejecting intellectualism. They also love Trump. And Trump is he's where intellectualism goes to die. Right? So Dungeons and Dragons is this really unique way for humans to experience. Now I want to be super clear. Jesus is a lot more valuable than Dungeons and Dragons, right? You could be the best dungeon master, best dragon master in the world. You still go to the hot place. Only Jesus will get you to heaven, right? And that's the most valuable thing, right? So I want to make it super clear. I am fascinated by Dungeons and Dragons because I think it's the only secular force in the world that will bring somebody a long distance toward many of the improvements that Jesus Christ gives on this planet, right? And I am blessed 1,000-fold because I have the most deep and resounding understanding of Dungeons and Dragons of anybody on this planet, bar none. Even the designers don't have any idea what they're dealing with. Some of them have clues. Some of them have an idea of it, right? But they don't understand it the way I do, right? And so I do have Dungeons and Dragons. It's a gift from God to me, right? Through Gary Gygax. But I also am an evangelical Christian, and I pray to Jesus every day. I read my Bible every day, and I have to admit, I'm fascinated by Dungeons and Dragons because the blessings of Jesus Christ. Dungeons and Dragons gives many of these to dungeon masters and dragon masters, not all of them, and certainly not eternal life. But it's my point is, if you're lost, and most of you are going to die lost, right? I'm the remnant. We're literally called the remnant, right? I know you're going to reject Jesus because it says it in the Bible. There's only going to be a remnant, right? But for you, the lost, this is it. Dungeons and Dragons is what you are most. It was what you will get the highest ROI on in your lifetime, right? And you will get it with this powerful coin. And so I told you one engine, right, that you could plug your inverted soul coins into. What are the other engines? We're building them now. We, as the Dungeons and Dragons community, are literally building the engines now. We're building the devices that can be fueled by the inverted soul coin, in my humble opinion. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.